Hello, my beautiful cuddlebugs. Welcome to Ramblings of a Book Dragon, where we dive into the warmth of good books and unravel stories that feel like a literary hug. I'm Allie, your host, and I'm thrilled to embark on another cozy adventure with you. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, snuggle into your cozy reading nook, and let's begin. But before we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe so that you won't miss a single episode. I really value your feedback and recommendations. Now let's begin. Today, I am reviewing The Arrow of Fortune, the third book in the Raiders of the Arcana series written by Jacquelyn Benson. And I thought I would try something different because with Kindle, they're now offering a recap. I mean, obviously, I know the book, I finished it and absolutely adored it, but I thought, let's give this a try because obviously we're going all over the place with the book anyway. Let's give the recap a try. And we're following Ellie, Adam, Connie, and Neil as they're going to India now, and they're looking for this. See, we're already going to a great start, but they're looking for this apocalyptic weapon from Hindu mythology, and it was based off of the goddess Sita when she was banished. And it's this whole great big weapon. It was an arrow, and it can destroy half of the population. And it's them finding this weapon, and they're also learning more about the Order of Albion, and just there's a lot. Obviously, plenty of stuff going on, but not only are they learning more about the Order of Albion and stopping them from getting this apocalyptic weapon, but we're also diving more into the relationships between Ellie and Adam and the developing relationship between Connie and Neil. With Ellie and Adam, they're having to grapple with the fact that Ellie, she doesn't want to be married, which makes perfectly good sense because this is the Victorian era, and her reasons are very logical because, of course, this is a time when women lose everything when they get married, and especially like when they have children too. And so she was having to try to figure out, like, okay, we're in a relationship that's not very normal. How are we going to navigate this? And we want to be together, but how are we together? So Connie suggests to Adam that maybe they have a fake wedding. They pretend to be married, but they're really not married. And Ellie's like, oh, I don't know about this. But then and this is something that they're having to kind of figure out together throughout the book. And then also with Adam, he's still kind of grappling with the whole issue of his father, and especially when they're in India, they meet up with this very, very bad man from England who's part of the Order of Albion, and he's actually Jacob's boss. And we meet Jacob's again. And in the last book, we learned that he doesn't kill them because they're part of his journey. Because he's looking for justice. What justice? We learn it in this book, but we don't know what's going on so far in the book when we're first running into them again. But I just love the fact that when they first run into Dawson at this little party, and at first it was just Ellie and Dawson's the professor, and he's trying to be he's trying to be a bully. And then Adam steps behind and he pushes Dawson into a cupboard, and he's like, "Oh, look what you found." And Ellie's like, "Oh, I just stumbled into him." And Dawson's like, "Oh, why do we keep on running into you?" But it's more just the fact that Adam just steps in and yep. I love it so much because he's just this big, bulky man, and he just pushes it. And yeah, their relationship, I love it because there's just so much good communication between them. And then with Connie and Neil, they're trying to figure out their relationship because they weren't exactly friends before, because Connie always tormented Neil when they were kids. And then they're both realizing, oh, they're cute and they're adults. And then also with Connie, her parents are trying to strongly encourage her to be married, but they're letting her choose her husband, but they're wanting her to be married. And Connie's like, I want to sow my wild oats first. I want to have an adventure. I want to do something first. But then she's also especially now that they're in India. She's half Indian, half white because her grandmother was is a princess, and she came over to England when a lot of that bad stuff was going on before, and she was escaping the bad stuff that was happening, and now she's back, and we were learning why the princess, her grandmother, is involved too, and it's to right the wrongs of the past. Like she ran away, and now she's kind of figuring all that stuff out too, and she's wanting to stop rich white men from taking control of things that we're never theirs. Like it's very much the tale as old as time. Rich white men, they see something that they want, they will do whatever they want to do in order to get it. Screw screw the people that were there first, the things that belong to them first. And then we also learn that actually this is a much deeper, bigger issue. And this is something that I'm concerned about. Like, are we getting into a war with Ellie and Adam and them versus rich men? Is this going to become some sort of big thing? What are we doing here? Because we learned that Adams's father is actually involved in all of this too on the American side because it's American nobility and British nobility and everything, but they have their places that they're allowed to go. And Adam's father is in Korea, in Joseon at the time. So it's like, oh, we're going to Korea. That's gonna be fun. But then and we learn more about just how terrible Adam's father was, how abusive he basically was to Adam, and he was going to break Adam down until he was exactly the way he wanted Adam to be. It's just all in all just a not good situation. And so I'm hoping that it's not going to become some sort of war. Like each book has been an adventure with romance, and I understand that eventually it's all going to come to a head. But what that head is, I don't know. But hopefully it'll be something that's still a good adventure without becoming too, we are heroes, we need to save the world. Because like that's what Ellie said at the end to the princess, because she's like, we're not soldiers. It's like, no, I'm not asking you to be soldiers because you and Adam aren't going to follow directions anyway. I'm asking you to be warriors, and the princess is funding the mission to Korea. And what I was a little concerned about too is that, but I'm really glad that she quickly resolved this, was there was a slight miscommunication between Connie and Neil because they were, Connie had decided to become pretend engaged to Neil in order to stop, because her grandmother was getting involved now. It's like, okay, once her grandmother's getting involved, oof, heaven help her. But she decides to become pretend engaged to Neil. And so now we're having that chemistry between them. And it's like, oh, I can touch her. I can do things, but also in a very polite way, of course. But then and they get stuck in a cave, and Connie's like, oh, we're stuck in a cave. We can't leave. I know what we can do. We can kiss, because she wants to make sure that he's a good kisser, of course, as one should. And plus, she's starting to feel all these feelings, and she wants to get these feelings out. But turns out, oh, he's a very good kisser. But then there's the whole issue of them, like they were sort of communicating, but then they weren't communicating a little bit, which was getting a little like, oh my God, just tell each other how you feel already. But luckily it wasn't annoying. It was just them in their heads, but it wasn't like miscommunications causing drama type of miscommunications. It was just them in their heads while they were moving forward. And then at the end, they get into an argument because there was a slight miscommunication, but it was quickly resolved into them deciding to be married for real, which made me very happy. And so all in all, it was just a lovely, fantastic book. And I'm very excited for the next one, and it sounds like we're going to get into a lot more. And I'm curious because it sounded like we're going to get a couple more books maybe, and then there's going to be a book on Neil and Connie because they're going to go to Venice. It's like, oh, that'll be fun, like a Neil and Connie specific, like that'll be nice to have them where it's just focused on them again instead of the dual ideas. And then also what I found to be kind of refreshing, because like we've seen Ellie's kind of her kind of being strongly encouraged to see some of her issues with being a white woman. And like first it was in South America, in British Honduras, when she hadn't really thought about the fact that, oh, the people there, they're not going to be able to see these things and the history and stuff that's being written by white men. And so she's been kind of learning to kind of see things from these different perspectives. And I like the fact that they were accepting of it, they're seeing this, they're recognizing it. And then Ellie's also, and then again in Egypt, with the whole fact that she was able to actually learn archaeology, but then someone like the guy that Neil was working with, he wasn't even allowed at the table. Like she is forcing a seat, but she's still a white woman. She's still a few steps above in the grand scheme of things of being white, as opposed to an Egyptian, for someone from South America. So it's all very much a mess, but I'm really glad that we are seeing that type of information. We're seeing that development, and that overall, and we did see racism. We did see some isms in this book with Connie because she is Indian, unfortunately, but it was nice to kind of see how they were reacting to it too, as this is messed up, especially with Neil. Like he was like, no, this is bad. Like, and it was interesting to kind of think about it because, like, as an American, like we know how the isms are with being a woman, like I don't know, but like people of color being treated as such, and like we know how bad it was here in America. But it was interesting to think about it from, okay, how it was back then in the Victorian era, like the fact that Connie was rich. That was what they cared about, was wealth. So that was an interesting way of thinking about it too. But luckily in the end we did find the arrow, but the issue was about, and that was the thing that was a little confusing about this weapon, is that it was an arrow, and maybe I missed an explanation somewhere, but it was like it could either destroy half of a population, but then there was also talk about it could destroy a single person, but it can only be used once. And I don't know if this is something that's written in the legend, if this is something that is something she created, and that's something I'm going to have to look into as well. But I thought that was a little confusing, and maybe I missed something in the audiobook. But that was something that was a little bit confusing to me because they were first talking about it destroying half of a population, but then they started talking about, oh, it can either destroy half of a population or it can destroy a single person, but it can only be used one time. So that's something I need to look into to see what the legends say versus what I read, and I need to look back in the book. But yeah, so it's good to be back. I hope you haven't missed me too much. I'm going to have a couple more reviews coming out soon, especially with Christmas movies. And if there's anything that you would like for me to review, please let me know. I hope you beautiful cuddlebugs take care, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye.